Hello, how's it going? I've been good, thanks for asking. I have been very tired. My sleep schedule is so messed up because I have no self-control and every night I just stay up watching useless YouTube videos. Probably like this one. Maybe don't watch this if you're actually supposed to be sleeping. Or you can stay tuned because there's nothing like a punch of sugar to wake you up. And this video is filled with just fudgy deliciousness. I always get really intense chocolate cravings whenever I'm tired, so that's what I made this week. Hope you enjoy! The first recipe that I wanted to try was this 2-ingredient chocolate truffle recipe that I kept seeing on all of these beautiful ASMR channels with peaceful piano in the back, so I'm gonna be an ASMR channel now. Just kidding, I don't think that's the vibe I give off in this universe. But anyway, it looked too easy to pass up, and to make it all I needed was cocoa powder and sweetened condensed milk, which was perfect because I had an entire can left over from my honey and walnut shrimp video. Does anyone else get that problem where you buy an ingredient for a recipe and then it just sits there forever and then you never use it again? I heated this up in the microwave to make it more viscous because science. And now that we have our 2 ingredients, the only possible next step is just mix them together. So just add a little bit of cocoa at a time and mix, mix, mix. And here we encountered the first problem. So in the video, they just cut from the unmixed to fully incorporated, but that is a straight lie. This is way too thick. I switched from a whisk to a spatula, and even that was too difficult, so I eventually started kneading the dough like bread. But eventually it came to form this brown clump, and then I put it in a container and let it chill in the fridge for an hour to set. After it hardened, I came back to cut it and ran into difficulty number 2. This kept sticking to my knife like no other, and it's really hard after you refrigerate it. I later realized that I think they dusted it with cocoa powder on the top first, so maybe that's why it was less sticky, but I don't know, I'm not super convinced. Eventually, after a lot of me pulling the pieces off of my knife, I was able to get these really aesthetic cubes. I wanted to try something fancy and put toasted pecans on the outside of some of these, so I rolled them into balls, and then it was a complete failure. I think these are too dry, but the pecans definitely did not stick whatsoever. I had to embed them, and it looks like, like a rotting tooth or something. It just looked terrible. I just took it off, put the rest in the bowl. Let's pretend this never happened. And lastly, for the final dusting of cocoa, here we go. Wow. This is so majestic, but honestly, there was so much cocoa powder left at the end. I'm pretty sure this is just for the camera because when I tried to eat it, the cocoa powder just made it so dry, kind of like the cinnamon challenge from forever ago. Basically, you know those fancy people who are like, oh, I love eating fruit for dessert, but sometimes I'm naughty, so I'll have a bite of dark chocolate. I feel like that's the kind of person that this recipe was aimed towards. The chocolate is very, very dark. Very dark. And I think certain people like it. I did see a bunch of other recipes with different ratios, so some people added more sweetened condensed milk, and obviously then it would be more sweet and milky. But personally, this one that I made was too sophisticated for my taste. So then I found this brownie cookie recipe. Okay, brownie cookies. This basically was sugary and fatty and everything that I wanted. So I made it. This recipe is a little bit more involved than the 2-ingredient truffle recipe, but honestly, what isn't? I added half a stick of butter and about 10,000 calories of chocolate chips, which I melted over the stove. This made the house smell extremely nice and reminded me of the gingerbread house from Hansel and Gretel. I was ready to attract all of the wandering children. As if that wasn't enough sugar, here I'm adding more brown sugar and then cracking in an egg, so you know this is healthy because it has protein to help you build those muscles. I mixed the egg and the sugar together and then added the chocolate mixture. And here I definitely made sure the chocolate was somewhat cooled down because I did not want chocolate scrambled eggs, which I'm sure is a recipe of some sort, but not this recipe. I added the dry ingredients of flour, cocoa powder, baking powder, salt, and sifted everything in. It was quite a lot of sifting, but maybe it prevents clumps. I don't know. When this was done, I tried baking the cookies and putting them on the pan immediately, which was terrible because shaping them was really hard since it was still pretty liquidy. The dough set a lot more after it cooled, so then it's much easier to shape, and my second batch was much better than this, but we all learn. So here you can watch me set these little brown sticky lumps down on the parchment. I also realized halfway through that this pan had an uneven bottom. I don't know how I didn't realize, so I did this precarious transfer to another cookie tray, and I'm very glad this is not as catastrophic as I pictured. For some of the cookies, I got to use the pecans from my failed truffle experiment as a topping, which is pretty exciting, and then I also added some chocolate chips. I put everything in the oven and then basically just waited nervously until they were done. I have no idea how to tell if a cookie is done. The recipe did say 12 minutes, but how do I know if I made my cookies the same shape? I also hear that it's bad to open the oven in the middle of baking, so anyway, at some point I just randomly took them out, and this is how they turned out. Oh my god, these are so good. Aren't you jealous that I get to eat these? I tried to film the reaction video for this, and then my camera wasn't even on. So I just like have half a cookie right here, but I'll just say it again. I tried so hard, guys, but these are so good, so good. They're fudgy and chewy, but they still have that really good cookie texture, so they're crispy on the outside, and they look super cute, right? And then I think the toppings here actually added a lot. So not that the original ones are bad or anything, but this just brings it to a whole new level. I'll definitely be eating these throughout the week. I'm so excited. Probably with some milk too, because chocolate cookies and milk are literally a dream. Thank you guys so much for watching, and let me know what your favorite chocolate food is, because I love chocolate. I will eat it. Okay, thanks. I'm gonna eat some more of these now. Goodbye. All right, now for the moment of truth. Cheers. Okay, yeah, do not eat the whole thing in one bite like I just did. It will be like completely stuck to the roof of your mouth. I think it's because of the cocoa powder. The cocoa powder is alive. I think it's just for the aesthetic. Don't go overboard with the cocoa powder unless you're filming a video and you just want it to look nice and fluffy. Yay.